I was literally saying, I'm sorry that it took so long to give you $10,000. Do you have any bruise, anything? Have I ever touched you in a bad way? Sweetheart, look at me. You cannot talk to me that way and say things like that because I'm more respectful than anyone you've ever met.
Anyone you've ever met? You're a Russian prostitute, and you can't speak to me that way. Now, he was making that video himself, wasn't he? He's making videos of himself lecturing a Russian prostitute, and then he's posting it. Every day's an IQ test. Was that after he became sober or before? Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. Yes, sir. Now, the Joe Biden pardon, even the left-wingers at Politico are saying, nobody's ever seen a pardon with language like this. So broad, so all-encompassing. You know, Bill Clinton pardoned his brother, Roger Clinton, over a cocaine distribution scheme that he was arrested for and jailed for. And all that good stuff. President Trump actually issued a pardon for his son-in-law's father, a New York investor. And so the news media says, well, it's a wash because, everybody does it. It's no big deal. It's just, it's the stuff of the third world. And that's okay. President Biden pardoned son Hunter, giving him almost 11 years of blanket immunity. That is presumably just backward, not going forward. See, I've already emailed the White House. I told them I want blanket immunity for the next 10 years, for the 10 years coming up. From 2024 to 2034, I would like blanket immunity. So no matter what I do, I've already been pardoned by Joe Biden. Can we do that? That'd be very handy, wouldn't it? I think that'd be great. So 11 years of blanket immunity for the son of the President of the United States. And the news media, like, oh, this is great. Gosh, why did it take so long to get to this? This is just wonderful. Yes, sir. And you may remember Karine Jean-Pierre said again and again from the podium at the White House that he would not, absolutely not, pardon his son Hunter Biden. Joe Biden said repeatedly to David Muir at ABC News and on other occasions that he would absolutely not pardon his son Hunter Biden. And then yesterday, Sunday, end of what is arguably a 4-day holiday weekend, Thanksgiving Thursday and all of that. And dinner time Sunday, he issues this blanket pardon for his own son. Isn't that great? Just wonderful. Amazing stuff. Yes, sir. They got Lickspittle in the mix here. Lickspittle Saliza's out there. What's Lickspittle doing? Republicans, the headline at Politico, Republicans say Biden is a liar after he pardons Hunter, his son. And they put the word liar in quotation marks because you got to say that. So there it is. And Kadia Goba tweeting out, and there it is. President Biden pardoned his son, Hunter Biden. Today, a signed pardon. I signed a pardon for my son, Hunter. And that's all good. That's good stuff. And Lickspittle Saliza retweeted that and said, a colossally selfish decision that will allow every Trump supporter to note that Democrats say one thing and do another. That's what Lickspittle says here. Now, Lickspittle, if you had just listened to my radio show for the last 15 years, you would be aware that this wouldn't come as news to anyone, that Democrats say one thing and do another. Were it not for double standards, Lickspittle, liberals would have no standards at all, as Roseanne Barr likes to say. Kind of strange. So we got that. Tom Fitton, the great Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch, tweeting out, will Attorney General Garland resign in protest and outrage now that Joe Biden has stated Garland's prosecution of Hunter Biden to be corrupt and selective, which he did in the White House statement? Are Biden's criticisms of DOJ employees as corrupt, dangerous, right? Because that's what they keep saying. If you criticize the Justice Department, oh, that's dangerous. But Joe Biden just did it in an official White House statement from the president. Are Biden's criticisms of DOJ employees as corrupt, dangerous, or is that only true when Republicans, Trump, and conservatives criticize the Justice Department? And, of course, Tom Fitton knows that he's onto something there. Of course, it's the old double standard, isn't it? Were it not for double standards. Peter Schweitzer, great Peter Schweitzer, look for Jim Biden to be pardoned next. Remember, the family was still under investigation under FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act, as the pardon comes down. Might have implicated Joe. Definitely would have implicated Joe himself. Remarkable things. All right, now let's get to the idiot media, the idiot corrupt media, because our media, honestly, our country is corrupt. Joe Biden is corrupt. The White House has been corrupted by Joe Biden and the Biden family. The Justice Department has been corrupted by Joe Biden, the Democrats, and Merrick Garland, who still thinks he ought to be on the Supreme Court, but he never will be. He's kind of like, Hillary will never be president, and Merrick Garland will never be on the Supreme Court. Isn't it wonderful? This morning on MSDNC, I was actually watching MSDNC this morning. It was awful. It was just terrible. Nobody should watch it. Really, nobody does. And, they had a meeting with Trump, and they've had to grovel and snivel and apologize and because they had a meeting with Trump. Well, why wouldn't we? Because you called him Hitler and a fascist and a Nazi, and he's going to destroy democracy itself, and just a couple of reasons you might. But this morning, Charles Sykes, I guess a former conservative, was on MSNBC this morning to play the role that MSNBC would have him play. And now listen to the talking point, and this is a big talking point today. Oh, no, the only reason it's bad that Joe Biden corruptly pardoned his own son, who brought in $27 million-ish from China and Russia and Ukraine, and this is all fine, distributed to 19 members of the Biden family, congressional investigation found. And the news media said, what? Well, there's no big deal. That's not news, much less front page news. Charles Sykes on Morning Joke, MSDNC this morning.
I think that it is unfortunate because the principle that no one is above the law is something worth defending. And I think that Joe Biden's, statements in the past have made it clear that he would regard this as an unfortunate, maybe even an abuse of the pardon power. And now what he's done is he's given Trump and Trump's allies a very, very powerful talking point.
The problem is that they've given Trump a very, very powerful talking point. That's the concern here. Not that they did it, not the deed itself. Just that, well, come on, now Trump and Republicans can point at this and say, well, look how corrupt this is. And Joe Biden vowed, and nobody believed him. I didn't believe him. I played the audio for you the day that Joe Biden said it, and I said, well, he's lying to us, of course. And, of course, he's going to pardon his son, just as I predicted 2 years ago that Joe Biden wouldn't be the Democrat Party's nominee come election day. And, you don't have to be Nostradamus. Now, here's a radical left-wing useless nub of a fake reporter at NBC Fake News. His name is Ken Delanian. His mother is very ashamed of him, very ashamed. And Ken Delanian this morning, I was watching Ken Delanian come on the TV. They couldn't wait to get rid of him on Morning Joke either. But here's their fake news reporter on NBC Fake News, Ken Delanian.
He went to trial, he lost, and he pled guilty, and he was in a serious predicament, which is probably one of the reasons that Joe Biden felt compelled to pardon him, to spare him from prison.
Yeah, well, that would be one explanation, I think, to keep his son Hunter out of prison. I mean, it's just cocaine and hookers and, the $27 million in Ukraine and China. Remember when they lied to us and Hunter went to China when he was vice president with Joe Biden when he was vice president, flew on Air Force Two, and they lied to us shamelessly about there were no business meetings and he didn't meet with anybody, and it was all lies, and they were there ginning up millions of dollars in communist business from the communist Chinese, and that was all okay. Ken Delanian this morning, and this is the big problem they have. Well, you know, we've been calling Trump a liar for saying this would happen, and now it's happened, so now what do we do?
People are very concerned that what this does is it normalizes Donald Trump's worldview that the DOJ is not on the level, that it's politicized, that it's not nonpartisan. And that's the big concern that I'm hearing from my sources.
He's got sources, and the big concern that he's hearing from his sources is that, well, this proves the Republicans right, and that's the worst thing about it. They don't care about the illegality, the abuse of power, the family ties, the golden rule, those with the gold rule. The rich people rule the country, and they corruptly rule the country, and they break the law with impunity, and then they pardon themselves. That's not really the issue here, right? It's just that it gives Republicans a talking point, and that's what they don't want. Isn't that amazing? Man, oh, Manischewitz. I am telling you. All right, let's take another phone call. And then I want to get to the attacks on Kash Patel and then the Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth, the New York Times somehow got a hold of an email from Pete Hegseth's mom from 6 years ago and published it in the New York Times. They have the old saying about emails and social media and your texts and stuff. Never write anything you don't want to see on the front page of the New York Times. Well, Pete Hegseth's mother is learning that lesson today. But right now, let's go to Mark, calling from the Republic of Texas. Mark, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, longtime listener and Redskins fan since the days of Sonny Jurgensen. This truly is the most encompassing, distinctive pardon by a president, wouldn't you say?
Well, it is. It's one for the history books. There is no doubt about it. Is because we've been watching this happen in slow motion. We, the American people, Mark, have been getting the slow roll, the old Washington slow roll, and they've been walking this out. Hunter got a plea deal, and he will avoid any culpability, certainly any jail. And then a judge slapped that down as one of the most corrupt things she had ever seen from these Delaware Politico types in the courtroom. And then they give us the slow roll again, and Joe Biden, whether he was going to be the nominee on Election Day, whether he was going to win, whether he was going to lose, this was destined to happen, and everybody saw it coming, right, Mark? And this is, apparently it is a very broad, all-encompassing pardon for the son of the president. And here's really, Mark, the more sinister part of this, is that investigation's still ongoing. We're in the process of leading back to Joe Biden's door for possible illegality perpetrated by the President of the United States and the then Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden. All of this was leading back to Daddy, to Joe Biden, and now they put the kibosh on all of that. So that's kind of a big part of it, too, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I tell you what, I'm going to be busy today trying to join the White House press team because I want a free trip to exotic places.
Yeah, honestly, it is. It's good to be a Democrat, isn't it? Because you just get away with murder. I think Hunter Biden should go shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue just to make a point and say, Dad, you're not done. Just shoot him a text. Say, oops, I did something else. Never mind the $27 million. And honestly, Mark, $27 million into the Biden family coffers, ill-gotten gains. And we have a news media that is forming a conga line with their heads wedged into one another's dark and remote locations to make sure that they never report on this. Our news media is the most corrupt institution in America, honestly. Mark, thank you for the call. Have a great Texas day. Living in Texas, living in America. You know that a recent reanalysis of a study shows that a year after having an abortion, women exhibited a 50% higher likelihood of first-time psychiatric trauma, needing psychiatric treatment, and an 87% greater likelihood of personality and behavioral disorders 1 year after an abortion. You know, this isn't women's health. It's the exact opposite of women's health, of course. at a great organization, Preborn. Preborn's network of clinics. Pregnant women are welcomed with open arms. They're shown their baby on an ultrasound and offered the opportunity to choose life-affirming choices. You know, they love the word choice, but I don't think they know what it means. And when a mother chooses life, they're offered assistance for up to 2 years, thanks to Preborn, including maternity clothes and diapers and counseling and teaching you how to have a baby and stuff. Preborn helps treat the whole woman and, of course, the baby growing inside of her. Donating to Preborn is simple. All you have to do is dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. Dial pound 250, the keyword is baby. Or you can visit online at preborn.com/plant. Preborn.com/PLANTE. All of your gifts are, of course, tax deductible. And Preborn has a 4-star rating as a charity, which is real good. Good as it gets. Isn't that wonderful? Doing good stuff, doing the Lord's work there. All right, we've got a lot more on this because the media and the Democrats, but I repeat myself, they're out to get Kash Patel. He might bring the law to the FBI. You can't have that. Don't you know it's a political weapon of the Democrat Party? And Pete Hegseth, the New York Times, doing a little investigative journalism and uncovering an email from his mom from 6 years ago. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Now, Joe Biden has to pardon his brother James. And I was texting with my friend Jim. When he pardons James, his brother James, then that will be effectively an outright admission of the Biden family's organized crime operation, of the criminal nature of the Biden family and the structures that they have set up with their many front corporations which don't do anything. They don't build bridges or put up skyscrapers. They don't mine coal or drill for oil. They don't lead investment groups. They don't do anything. They just collect money from foreign entities, don't pay their taxes on them, violate the Foreign, FARA Act, Foreign Agents Registration Act, and then they say, hey, my father's the president, my brother's the president, I'm going to be pardoned, and we're all going to get away with it. We got $27 million. That ought to last for quite a while. They're giving money to the grandkids, and, well, the grandkids they acknowledge. Anyway, not the grandkids they don't acknowledge. But the Pardon Palooza. The Pardon Palooza is not over yet, I suspect. Joe Biden's in Africa. I got a little cringe on Air Force One for you coming up on this subject. CNN has one guy that is a Republican. His name is Scott Jennings, and he's a good guy, and they invite him on, at least for now. Apparently, Scott Jennings has also been named to the editorial board of the Los Angeles Times, formerly a newspaper of some repute. But Scott Jennings, he appears on CNN, and he was on CNN this morning to talk about Joe Biden pardoning his son. And Scott Jennings had him befuddled. The CNN Circle Fest. The headline on Twitchy: Scott Jennings takes CNN panelist apart for claiming Joe Biden didn't lie about Hunter Biden pardon. Of course, he did lie. I played the audio, and he lied repeatedly. His spokesmodel lied repeatedly. This morning on CNN, with their one conservative voice, Scott Jennings, on, and trying to help them back to reality.
Joe Biden is leaving office making the strongest possible case for Donald Trump that anybody could possibly make it, and that's that our government and our justice system is of by and for the elites and nobody else. He ran to banish Trumpism from our political system in this country, and he has left it politically and now institutionally the strongest possible political force in this country. It is a complete and utter failure.
It's corruption. Our government has been corrupted. Our White House is corrupt. Joe Biden is corrupt. The Biden administration is corrupt. The Department of Justice is corrupt. The FBI has been corrupted by corrupt individuals at the top of the FBI that have abused the FBI again and again, targeting the political enemies of the Democrat Party. And this state that Scott Jennings is talking about, it's ruled by the elite. It's ruled by the Democrat Party's elite. I think you could argue that Donald Trump also represents the elite. He's a multi-billionaire. He puts up skyscrapers all over the world. He's got skyscrapers in New York with his name on top. He got his own 757. I think it would be fair to say that he is part of the elite. But he's not. He was a Democrat Party elitist. And then he said, I'm running as a Republican. And boom, that was it. The corrupt establishment turned against him. The permanent bureaucracy, the deep state turned against him. The media, which it's all part of the same apparatus, the corrupt apparatus. Pretty amazing stuff. But he wasn't done yet. Scott Jennings on CNN.
Never again do I want to hear, oh, Donald Trump's a liar. You can't believe anything he says. Donald Trump will abuse his power. Donald Trump will only use the system to benefit himself and his family and so on and so forth. Never again.
Never again. Why? But look, were it not for double standards, as Roseanne Barr says, liberals would have no standards at all. Scott Jennings has CNN this morning.
I have one question for Karen, and that is, why did he need an 11-year blanket pardon going back to 2014 when Joe Biden was the vice president? We are sitting on the biggest cover-up of who knows what crimes, and Joe Biden amazingly knows exactly, roughly, when it started. He knows just about when it all started. He's leaving office in complete and total disgrace.
He was talking to Karen Finney, a Democrat apparatchik, there on the panel with him at CNN, who said, no, he didn't lie. What lie? Joe Biden didn't lie when he said he wasn't going to pardon Hunter Biden. It just, Democrats, things evolve. Remember when Barack Obama said he was a Christian, open with a lie, and that he believed that marriage was a sacred bond between a man and a woman, and he couldn't possibly support same-sex marriage until it was explained to him that they were having a fundraising issue with gay people in the United States. And when he saw that there was a fundraising problem, Barack Obama said, what, me? I'm not a Christian anymore. I don't believe a man and a woman. I wouldn't. That's Barack. And the news media said he evolved. He didn't flip-flop. He didn't reverse his position. He wasn't lying then. He had evolved, which is very nice. Evolution. It's kind of a funny thing, isn't it? Yes, it is. These people. All right, let's take a phone. God, I'm looking at the clock. I have so much to get to still. Let's go to Travis, calling from the great state of Illinois. It's the land of Lincoln, you know. Travis, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hello.
Hey, Travis.
Hey, good morning, Chris. I just had a question, looking at the historical application of pardons, be they gubernatorial or presidential, it's a process, just like commuting a sentence or having suspended a sentence. A pardon is after eviction and sentence, because there might be extenuating.
Your phone's skipping out a little, I'm sorry to say, Travis.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just wondering, how do you pardon somebody that hasn't been sentenced yet?
Well, that's a fair question. And not only that, but whatever we may find out in the future he did over the last 11 years, he's been pardoned for whatever that might be in future. If we should find out that he killed Russian hookers, then he's been pardoned for that too.
I don't think that's how it works, Chris. I think they know that's not how it works.
Well, you're going to have to take him to court, I guess.
Maybe so. Anyways, I just wanted to point that out, that even in their crookedness, they're still incompetent. I don't think we should call them stupid or idiotic. They're obviously not stupid. They're just crooked as all get out, and it's disgusting.
Yep.
Especially in the case of Hunter Biden. I mean, human trafficker, drug addict, just the casual corruption of the whole thing is just disgusting. And then when you juxtapose that with things that they've tried to do to Trump, or people that work for Trump, sending different people to prison and stuff for contempt of Congress and stuff, I just think, what hypocrites, what disgusting, crooked people. And we should all be sick of it, and they should lock up Hunter Biden just to protect him from us and our disgust of him.
That is great. Listen, I got your Godfather reference there. I don't know if everybody got it, but just the suspended a sentence. That was excellent. I just wanted to acknowledge that very nice drop in there of the Godfather reference. And I want to thank you for that. Now, listen, I've been talking about this for a long time. We're going to keep talking about it because we live in a corrupt country. We live in a country that the left has corrupted. They've corrupted the permanent bureaucracy and the intelligence community, and John Brennan, Barack Obama did that while racially polarizing the country, tearing us apart along lines of race, the Democrat Party. And that this is a massive cover-up. You're absolutely right. It's a giant cover-up. And they're planning on getting away with it. And Joe Biden, he's at the center of this, and he was vice president and president. And again, as we just heard in the last soundbite from CNN, the pardon goes all the way back to when Joe Biden was vice president and Hunter Biden was flying to China on Air Force Two and cutting business deals with communist Chinese entities, and then they were lying to us about it. And so he's pardoning, and he's got a pardon. Now, listen, Travis, he's still got to pardon his brother James, Joe Biden does, which will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the entire Biden family has been involved in an ongoing criminal enterprise, a family criminal enterprise. Again, the House of Representatives found in their investigation $27 million gone into the Biden family coffers over this period of time. The Treasury Department had more than 100 suspicious activity reports. One or two of those would destroy your career on Wall Street forever and ever. More than 100 for the Biden family, not pursued. The corrupt permanent bureaucracy of the Justice Department, the FBI, allowed statutes of limitations to expire, knowing that Hunter Biden would no longer be prosecutable. The FARA Act, Foreign Agents Registration Act, which Hunter Biden violated, James Biden doubtless violated, and it all leads back to the Oval Office door with Joe Biden in there, tens of millions of dollars in corrupt money coming into the Biden family coffers, and that's the bigger picture here. Travis, thank you for the call. Have a great Illinois day, and I love the Godfather reference. Very, very well done. Subtle, but I want to let you know it didn't get by me. Good stuff, Travis. Thank you. Now the people at Desiree News. This is great. President Biden pardons his son Hunter, giving him almost 11 years of blanket immunity. Hunter Biden was facing sentencing in December for tax and gun-related felony convictions, but now he's free to go. And they're up at a billionaire's house on Nantucket Island for the Thanksgiving holiday. A billionaire said, oh, sure, you and your whole family, come up. You can use my billionaire house here on the island paradise of Nantucket for Thanksgiving. No big deal. But Biden gave his son full and unconditional pardon for any criminal offenses committed from January 1st, 2014 to December 1st, December 1st, 2024. So that was yesterday, of course. And until midnight last night, Hunter was free to commit whatever mayhem and murder he wanted to commit, and he would be pre-pardoned, a full and unconditional pardon for any and all crimes committed, including but not limited to all offenses charged or prosecuted, including any that have resulted in conviction, by Special Counsel David C. Weiss. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. All right. Now, with that said, there's still more, because the corrupt Democrats are after all of President Trump's people, right? Now, also, I should just mention that Bibles, the Bible, the Christian Bible, sales are booming. Record numbers of Bibles are being sold, fueled by first-time Bible buyers, which is kind of an interesting and fun fact. The Wall Street Journal has the story today. And that's kind of interesting. But let me get back to, well, let's go to Kash Patel. Kash Patel is President Trump's pick to become the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, which has been corruptly abused by the Democrat Party to target their political enemies. And Kash Patel now was the President Trump's pick, is President Trump's pick to take over. Got to fire Christopher Wray, who is the corrupt, sneering, smug FBI director, because he says he refuses to resign even though the president wants him out. Kash Patel went on a podcast a while back, Joe Pags, and Joe Pags talking about the January 6th people, that many of whom are still sitting in jail.
Talk about government gangsters of the first order. Merrick Garland and Chris Wray are the top two culprits, and that they're destroying our system of justice and creating a two-tier one. Look, we now know without any equivocation, there was a dozen minimum federal sources, paid informants, and the FBI's former director of the D.C. field office came out and admitted they lost track of them. Right. The FBI lost track of the informants they had on the job for the D.C. Capitol riot scheme, and they lost them.
Yeah, the FBI. If you can't trust the FBI, who can you believe? Isn't that amazing? How many, January 6th FBI agents in the crowd? Were they inciting? Were they going into the Capitol? I know, in the crowd, gosh, I don't know. How many were there? We don't know.
They admitted they had 24 undercover federal agents on site. Chris Wray and Merrick Garland have lied to the world and Congress about this repeatedly. They, of course, know the answers to that. They're quarterbacking those cases in that investigation single-handedly. And Congress should bring Merrick Garland up on contempt of charges for lying yet again. But for some reason, we don't want to take his money. We don't want to take some of his funding. We're going to let him continue to lie and continue to rig elections and continue to destroy our system of justice.
Kash Patel is a very bright guy. He's obviously very well spoken. You were just listening to him, and he's talking about the FBI had been lying to us. How involved were they in the riot on January 6th at the Capitol, and why will they not tell us? And why is the FBI director stonewalling the American people? Maybe we need someone in there that will tell the truth to the American people and not a lion Sacagawea like the sneering FBI director. Now, just a couple of weeks ago now, Kash Patel was on Maria Bartiromo, her broadcaster television show on the Fox News Channel. And the left keeps telling us, this guy's not qualified to be the FBI director. He hasn't been a government bureaucrat for long enough. Kash Patel to Bartiromo.
My 16-plus years in government service as a public defender, as a national security prosecutor, as a civilian in Joint Special Operations Command, leading President Trump's counterterrorism missions, taking out Baghdadi, returning hostages, serving as his deputy director of national intelligence, and lastly, as chief of staff. The only thing I was beholden to was the United States Constitution. And yes, I was a lead investigator where he exposed the Russiagate crimes that Comey, McCabe, Strzok, and Page, and so many others committed. And we reported to Congress those oversight matters, and those were taken up through them in the right course to the American people. So if anyone has a complaint about that and questions my unwavering commitment to the Constitution, I'm happy to talk to them about it. I'm especially happy to talk to the media about it. But you can look at my record, and those calling me a danger, let's just ask them for a proof, a piece of evidence that actually shows I've committed any constitutional violations or any ethical quandaries.
Now, the CNN people, they hired the corrupt former deputy director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe, who was involved in a conspiracy that should probably be charged going forward. And he was on CNN yesterday attacking Kash Patel. He's not at all qualified to be FBI director.
The fact that Kash Patel is profoundly unqualified for this job is not even like a matter for debate.
You just heard his resume.
What we should really be thinking about right now is what does this signal in terms of Donald Trump's intent for the FBI?
Yeah, that's what we should be concerned about. To hold it accountable. And Andrew McCabe, crooked former deputy director, FBI.
It's a terrible development for the men and women of the FBI, and
yes,
also
it is.
for the nation that depends on
no,
a
it's
highly
not.
functioning, professional, independent Federal Bureau of Investigation.
One of these people is a liar and a corrupt person who was driven out of his job at the FBI for corruption, and that's Andrew McCabe, and hired by CNN because they're a corrupt institution, a corrupt organization. Next up, the attack, the New York Times, on Pete Hegseth with an email from his mom from 6 years ago. This one is one for the books, too.
Suspend the sentence. Suspend the sentence.
In an interview with The Times on Friday, Penelope Hegseth defended her son, saying she disavowed those sentiments as well as apologized in a follow-up email.
Mika, at MSNBC, they're all over this. The New York Times, investigative journalists that they are, they got a hold of an email that is from Pete Hegseth, nominee for Secretary of Defense. His mom sent him an email 6 years ago, and it's a mean email. She was angry. She wrote, "Son, I've tried to keep quiet about your character and behavior, but after listening to the way you made Samantha feel today, ex-wife, I cannot stay silent. As a woman and your mother, I feel I must speak out. You are an abuser of women. That is the ugly truth, and I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, sleeps around, and uses women for his own power and ego." So that's the opening of the email from Mom. Not a good day. The New York Times contacted Mom, Penelope Hegseth, Pete Hegseth's mother, and she said, wait. She said, "It's not true. It's never been true," she told the New York Times. "I know my son. He's a good father, husband." And, the thing goes on and on, the New York Times. In subsequent emails, Mrs. Hegseth expressed regret to her son, Pete, for her emotional message, and she apologized to Pete Hegseth for this email. But the New York Times and the rest of the Democrats, they're taking it and selectively editing and saying, "Oh, look, he's a terrible, horrible person." And Mom says, "I'm not a saint, far from it. So don't throw that in my face, like you're a saint. But your abuse over the years to women, I'd say of women, dishonesty, sleeping around, betrayal, debased, belittling, needs to be called out. Thanks, Mom. Sam is a good mother, ex-wife, a good person." And so Mom had a really mean email, and this is going to be used to clobber Hegseth during a hearing.